Opening day. It's going to be a fun one. I see my man MJ in the chat already. What's up? Good to see you, buddy. A little disappointing last night. Ended up just on the outside looking in the cash line on the Millionaire Maker. I ended up, I shouldn't have in the big one. It's always weird. I really wanted to play the Cole Anthony, and instead I played Fultz, and I don't know. I got a little tucked in my head. I was locked in on Fultz, and then I was locked in on Anthony. It just frustrated because that would have put me in a pretty big cashing position. But we're on to baseball. We're on to this, something fun that we can actually not have to stress every time before lock about 500 different things changing everything. We're going to have some interesting things. There's interesting, I've talked with Goldie and some other people that really respect me. It's different every year with baseball. And I'm going to share the screen here and start going through what SaberSim has. But I just want to point out how I look at these early season things, and they've worked out really well for me, especially over the past few years with the way that teams treat young pitchers and all pitchers pretty much for that matter. You see all the ownership going, Glass now, Skubal, excuse me. You see Yu Darvish getting pretty good ownership, Pablo Lopez, decent ownership. Everybody spending up on pitching early in the year is so much less important than it is when the pitchers are already stretched out. These guys are not going to go out there and, for the most part, throw more than 90 pitches. They're, for the most part, not going to be going past the 6 innings, if at all, if even that far. I think it's really a good time to spend down on pitching early in the season, especially when you have really good stacks that people don't want to play but can't afford to play because they want to play Glass now and Skubal, for example. I have Luzardo as the number one pitcher on the slate. I like Skubal the best if I had to pick another one. I don't mind the Glass now thing either, but those would be the three that make the most sense. But what I'm doing is I'm playing a lot of Montas, a lot of Berrios, and a lot of Josiah Gray. And Josiah Gray, I'm already telling you right now, he's in my biggest buy-in lineup today. It's just you're going against the most popular offense. A lot of leverage. And look, there's a huge bust path for Josiah Gray every time he takes the mound. Somehow still kept his ERA under 4 last year. Pretty strong year and really finished strong. The guy's got good strikeout stuff. I know it's not a good matchup. I know it's not a good ballpark. He gives up home runs. He walks people. You do have a slightly impatient team. And I like making these kind of bold plays earlier in the year when these pitchers, in my opinion, are mostly, maybe there'll be an outlier performance. But for the most part, I think you're looking at being separated by 3 or 4 points and spending like $3,000, $4,000 more for those 3 or 4 points at a pitcher. When I want to play Houston and when I want to play the Dodgers, we're going to need to save money somewhere. So I'm saying here that I think it makes a lot of sense to play some of these cheap guys in. I would throw Crochet in the mix. I mentioned Josiah Gray already. I think you get these 6K guys, and it really allows you to build out those Dodger stacks if you want to go that route with the highest total on the slate. It allows you to build out the Houston stacks who are really expensive. And I think those are really appealing stacks. And you look at the Dodgers, the only Ohtani projected to get above 10% ownership. And I have plenty of Dodger stacks without Ohtani. I love Ohtani, whatever. We'll see. I don't even want to get into the whole other conversations. But I really like the idea of spending down at pitching, trying to get some exposure to these guys, these stacks that I like. I don't generally love to pick on Mikolas. And if there's a day you don't need to really stack, I guess it would be earlier in the year because of that, bullpen. They're sort of all not bullpen games, but they're closer to bullpen games than they will be in 2 weeks. So again, if you're going to make the 5-man stacks, though, I think the Dodgers just are always going to be right there. And you see the low ownership over here on Houston, and I love this spot for Houston. So I'm very into trying to prioritize a little differently. What's going to be the chalk is going to be this Minnesota-Washington game. And I understand why you're playing in Cincinnati. I'm sorry, this Cincinnati-Washington game. You're playing in Cincinnati. You've got say, questionable pitchers at best on the mound. I'm still on the page of you're going to see a breakout year from Josiah Gray this year. I really actually believe in the kid's talent. And I think we started to see it last year. So I'm again, bad matchup, but that's what I'm doing. But you're going to see, you see the ownership, everybody basically double-digit owned between Washington, on the Washington side. Everybody almost, probably going to average out around 20% on the Cincinnati side. It just is really interesting to me to take pitchers in this game and not really focus as much on the hitting. Now, I'm using a lot of the hitters in this game, but they're mostly my 3-mans, my 2-mans, Some one-offs here, India and Benson being the two clear desirable ones. I think you can throw Encarnacion Strand into there. But I really like the idea of getting a little different with the pitching. That's my main thing, my main takeaway here. Let's go, Jolly. Baseball is back. And so you see all, and then you have the other chalk spot, which is another one where I didn't end up getting. We saw some things from Cole Reagans last year. It's just the price, and I don't want to pay that price, but I think there's upside for him. I also understand why against the lefty, you're going to have a popular Minnesota team, but I am, again, more one-offs. I don't have any full Minnesota stacks, I don't believe. I think I have one. But Buxton, I love. You always want to play him against lefty, 4,600. He'll be 5,500 in like a week. But again, you just don't need to eat all of this chalk, especially early in the season. And in baseball, you could play and never eat chalk and still be a positive player, especially as it comes to the hitting. But I just think it's interesting to point out that early in the year is really the time where you can gamble on the cheaper pitchers and not pay all the way up, because you're likely not going to get. I mean, remember, we saw Kershaw on opening day last year. I think he threw 74 pitches. He had a perfect game going through 7, and they didn't take him. They took him out. That's the kind of stuff you're going to see. It looks like Rhodey's popping in. Are we going to get Rhodey in the mix? Let's get Rhodey in the mix. There he is.
Yeah. But I'm having some, like, my camera's doing the there. It's just fixed itself. Perfect.
Now we're back on. We're in business.
We're good. Yeah.
And this is like a reunion for us. We haven't done a show together in forever, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a little late. I got a lot of lineups to build still yet, but
Well, okay, yeah. And I was talking through some of my things, and MJ's got a nice question here in the chat. What's up, guys? Please click the like button. We also do have a code right now. We have some awesome stuff going on. We've got Goldie's projections, obviously, which are incredible. Saber Sim. We've got Sheets is just like the absolute man, but he's gone this week. But in general, you got Sheets' projections every day. All of my content and all of Rhodey's content. And we're charging basically the similar price to Saber Sim directly. So I think it's a pretty great offering, and use the promo code MLB24 for 24% off your first month, and we're in business. I think that it's really worth it to do that. Rhodey just popped it in the chat, which I appreciate. Rhodey, I was talking before you got here a little bit about these kind of early season games and how the approach is maybe a little different in baseball, because the spend ups at pitcher, you're just not going to see anybody getting really stretched out, right? Like, it's just that we see it every opening day, every first couple of weeks until the pitchers are stretched out. You're not getting a huge variance. Like, you're not going to see the 40s out there and the other pitchers getting 15s. I think you're mostly going to be looking within like a 2 to 5 point, for a medium pitcher and the top pitcher on the slate early in the season, with that, unless there's one weird outlier performance. Do you sort of agree with that? How do you look at these early season games? How do you do this? Is it you treat it the same all the time? Is it what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually. I think last year was kind of a unique year, though. I remember some of the top pitchers, the more chalkier pitchers, still getting the numbers and winning versus the guys we were taking chances on.
Right, they got the numbers, but it was just because of fluky performance. Like I was saying, Kershaw on opening day last year, I think he threw 74 pitches, had a perfect game going through 7, and they pulled him out of the game. You know what I mean? And you're not always going to have that. You know what I mean? That's an outlier performance, but you don't even get to fully capitalize on it.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's a couple of guys. I don't know if you mentioned them, if you went through your pitchers yet.
I did go through them, but I said,
are you on this Trocheck guy at 6,500 and against Detroit?
I have him a little bit, but I actually like the just getting really weird with it and taking the pitchers in the most popular hitting environment. I think Bagray is going to have a breakout year. He's going to be completely unowned today, and I will play.
Yeah, that's a really good price too.
Yeah. And again, he has his strikeouts. So he's projected on average to get 0.7 less strikeouts today than Tyler Glasnow is. Okay, 0.7 less. Now he does walk people. He gives them home runs, sure, but you get him to stay out of a little bit of trouble. It wouldn't be that far fetched for him to be one of the top pitchers on the slate. I think you could say the same thing with Montas on the other side in this game, and you're getting incredible leverage because this is where all the chalk's going. So I like the idea of getting to those guys, and then I had Crochet as the other one to mix in. But Luzardo is my number one pitcher because he's sort of the cheap guy with the upside. So
I like that. Yeah, I like him a lot. He's got the highest pitch count on the slate, I think, almost too, or estimated pitch count of mid 90 or low 90s, but everyone else is under 90 basically today. Like you said, everyone's not going to get stretched out. So,
yeah.
So
that's sort of the way that I'm looking at it. I'm just not as I have if I had to guess who's the highest scoring pitcher, I would guess Skubal or Luzardo today. And then I have Glasnow third. But again, I don't think you necessarily need to win the pitching position, because if you want to get in, and we're going to talk about some stacks here, Rody, I know who you're going to like. You like the Houstons, right?
I do like the Houstons. Yeah.
I'm in on that idea, but I'm even more in on the Dodgers, because you're getting low ownership on the best offenses in arguably the best spots in baseball. I don't usually pick on Mikolas, but this Dodger lineup is pretty loaded. And they have the highest run total, and they're not going to get played that much just because people aren't finding a way to get them in because they're pricing. So I love the idea of getting to Dodgers. I love the idea of getting to Houston. I think that's where I'm starting. And then I'm using the Cincinnati, Washington pieces where I don't have the opposing pitcher. I'm using them more as 2 and 3 mans. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who Sheets would be stacking? I can tell you right now, if he was here, he would have come in with, I know Sheets really well on this stuff. He would be stacking probably like, his first idea would probably be like stacking St. Louis against Glasnow or something. That would be like his knowing Sheets.
I was going to say the White Sox against Skubal, but
yeah, something like that. You know? That's right. That's what it would be.
Yeah, I know. Scott McCarty in the Discord, guys. If you're not in the Discord, get in the Discord. He's on the Astros too. That was one of the teams I mentioned in my playbook today, guys. I dropped the playbook today. Astros are in there. I called them out specifically. So yeah, guys, check that out. Oh, he put Pirates. McCarty did in the chat.
Yeah,
he could probably play them too.
Yeah,
unless you're on those guys. Unless you're on them, Scott.
But the guy runs so hot and so pure. It's crazy to think like we had Sheets like 2 years ago. Like he kept saying over and over again, this Arizona team is really underrated. This Arizona team 2 years ago, they literally scored the fewest runs in baseball. And every day they're underrated. They're gonna have been bet on Arizona today, and somehow he'd still win because like once a week they would hit. Last year, of course, Arizona had like the best offense in baseball for the second half of the year and went to the World Series. It's like he puts those things out there. So I actually would be curious to see who he's going to be really high on when he comes back.
Yeah, Scott, that's who I thought you were saying that he would be on the Pirates. That's right. That's one of those same teams. Well, White Sox, Pirates, those kind of teams he would be playing majority today, I'm sure.
Yeah. And, you know, for what it's worth, like, it's probably worth like talking a little bit about, like, I guess, you know, the weather. It's early in the year, and this is not just true for today. You're just going to have games that are a little bit colder. It's not really bad hitting weather, like exactly, but like it's just going to be a little bit colder. That's the way it's going to be for the next month. And when the summer comes around, a lot of these stadiums are going to play very differently. For right now, you know, it's just going to be probably a little less power. And I think that, again, I'm going to be less on this year. I'm going to play a lot more 5-man stacks than I have been. But I do think early in the season, if you wanted to make an argument for a 4-2-2 or a 4-3-1 or something like that, this is maybe more the kind of time to do it on an 8-game slate where you don't have you're getting a lot of bullpen action, so you're not going to be able to go as nuts. This might be the kind of time to do it. I know you're never going to do it, but do you agree with the strategy at least?
No, that's fine. I mean, you know, I have thrown some oddball stuff in recently, you know, like, but I typically did mention today in my article that I typically do stack 5-mans, if you guys didn't know. So,
yeah. One thing that was interesting to me last year is when they did the first, I think it was the $1 million, it was like a $2,500 buy-in. I looked at all of it was, he's one of the best players in the world, one of the best poker players in the world too. Brandon Adams, he had he had 16 entries in the 2,500, and all of them had no players from the same team on it. He had no 2-mans even. And I was like, what is happening in the world? Like this a year ago, that would have been completely, a year before would never have been possible. And I was just like, and yet again, I think that night he cashed for like 150,000. Like, it's just bizarre. Like, I don't even know what goes into that kind of thinking, but it's just, there is always an advantage to changing a little bit of the groupthink mentality. Maybe not 5-man stacking is not the right way to do it. But I certainly think, like, in general, I'm much more willing to, even as I play 5-mans, I'm going to play more 5-1-1s, 5-1-1-1s. You know what I mean? I don't think you necessarily need to do everything 5-3. Where do you stand on that type of?
Yeah, I don't ever. I like the 5-man purpose, but I don't ever go with just 5-3 everything. So I agree with what you're saying there.
Nice. So, you know, and Scott's saying in chat, he's got Houston, the Dodgers, and Minnesota with sprinkles of Washington and Miami for the fill-ins. I totally agree with that. I think I like that very much. I think Miami's another team that you could make a case for today. We've seen the good and the bad in Keller in the past. and no one is going to play anything from Miami. You've got Berger with some power. You've got Jazzy who can hit. They're affordable enough. It's kind of an interesting stack that I was considering but didn't really get to. I went Dodgers, Houston. Who's my next highest owned stack? Let me take a quick look. I think it actually is Minnesota, just like my guy Scott. That's where I went. What other stacks do you like today, Rody?
Obviously like Astros. Well, I got one for you. Yeah. I don't know, man. Padres did so terrible last year. Mm-hmm. You know, they got a different looking team, but I mean, I don't know. I've never been a fan of Webb a little bit, and they're kind of low owned. I wouldn't mind taking like a mini stack of the Padres. I think I marked them as kind of leverage play. I'm doing the 20 guys. I'm doing the 20 max $4. It's got a lot of entries, so you kind of got to get a little wild in that one. So I figured I'd throw that in a couple of those kind of lineups, throw a couple Padres stacks in or something. But I'm gonna run that with some Saberson builds here in a minute, more towards lock, and then we'll see what they give us for those 20 max that we're gonna do. But I definitely like a little Padres low owned kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think you could make a case either way with the Padres there. Like I've always liked Webb because I just think he's a decent, like a good pitcher who doesn't have like one thing that's perfect. He's just really, really good at locating and not giving up too much. But I'm totally good with that. There's actually not any stacks that I would say are really bad today. I really don't think there's anyone that I would say, oh, I just never would do that today. Like it just doesn't. The one that I'm trying to avoid, that again I still have plenty of pieces of, is the Cincinnati, because I think you're just going to get crazy ownership. I actually think the numbers might be a little light on what this game gets owned. Seems like some people in chat are excited because they played the FanDuel slate, which I didn't get in on. But they started with the Angels game, and I guess Trout hit a home run. So good for you guys.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, another thing, guys, 67 people in here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Appreciate you guys all being here for this early lock for the opening day.
Yeah, and fire on questions and thoughts. Let us know what you're doing, sort of different, any strategies you have, any questions, any ideas. We always want to talk with you guys. Like, it's interesting to sort of, see where everybody else is at the start of the year. What else do we have to really cover? I'm just going to take a quick look at my my weather thing to see if there's anything I really want to highlight.
Yeah, I never put the weather update in there. I should have looked at that today too.
I looked at it, but I just don't. I don't remember it off the top of my head. So I'm going to take a quick look here.
Yeah, let me know what you get, because that is one step you don't want to miss in MLB.
Yeah, it's basically, like you have good wind weather in Kansas City. Not a great hitter's park, but the wind's blowing out to center, temperatures in the 60s. It's pretty good. That's a pretty good hitting weather type of game. It's cold in Chicago. Shocker there, and the winds are blowing out to left. There's something there. It's winds blowing out to left in the 50s in Cincinnati. Cincinnati it's a bandbox, tiny little stadium, always fine. Winds in from left in San Diego. Maybe that would temper a little bit of the love.
Yeah,
the 60s, so it's decent weather. And then the Dodgers, temperature in the 60s, winds blowing out. Stadium plays a lot better during the day in general. And I think that you're going to get Texas is probably going to have their roof open. Wait, we don't. That game's later, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's a later game. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's not in this slate. Yeah.
Senzel was just scratched. So update. Let's see who he scratched for. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that one. This is what happens. I just go into this whole thing about how now we don't have to worry about this kind of stuff anymore, and then we get it. Well, was he already scratched, or was he scratched earlier? Huh. I didn't know what happened. Let me just see something real quick.
And how is anybody going to get through this lineup for the Dodgers, man? Ooh, nasty.
It's nasty, yeah. Senzel. Oh, so he was. That's weird.
They're so expensive, though.
We already have our first scratch of the year. Jolly's playing St. Louis. I like the boldness of it. I think Glasnow is awesome in general, but why not take that weird chance that no one's going to take? If there's a day to do it, it's the first day. Why not? No, you're right. You're right, Scott. It was new news. I appreciate that. I'm just going to double check my Senzel exposure, and it's pretty plentiful actually. So who's now in the lineup? Let's get an updated lineup. I'm using RG's lineup thing, which is a free thing, so I'm not taking anything from these guys. Just they're good with baseball. With basketball, they sometimes don't update the actual guys who are starting until after the games start. So let's see. Let's go. This will be the first. It's weird when all the games at the same time because I have them in my head as being all at different times. So
yeah, I do like using the Roto Grinders lineup for free right there. You can get.
Yeah, it's a great tool. And look,
yeah. Usually I have my Twitter up, usually where I see Nick Senzel scratch, but I haven't seen an updated lineup.
Well, I'm definitely not going to be playing him. It's a strategy of mine. It's a bold one. I don't like to play these guys who don't play.
Oh, wait. Yeah, I did get a Nationals lineup updated Nationals lineup. Abrams, Thomas, Winker, Mensis, Gallo, Ruiz, Rosario, Vargas, Garcia.
Oh, so it's probably Vargas.
Vargas is at third there,
yeah, Vargas. So
I'm still getting used to who's on what team, so like I'm not fully up to speed on everything. I should have did a little bit better deep dive on the.
Believe me, I spent all night like going through since like I don't know 6 a.m, and I still don't feel caught up. So that's just the way it happens early in the year, and we just got to deal with it. All right, let me. While we do that, I do need to get Senzel out of this tier of all these lineups. Actually, okay. Sorry, just gonna do that. What other thoughts do we have for opening day here, Rody? Anything else you want to touch on?
I don't know. I don't have too many thoughts. I think it just feels like a little smaller slate than typical. Mm-hmm. I thought normally they're at 1 o'clock, aren't they, on opening day, or is it normally this 4
1 Eastern? They've done that before with the all-day thing, but it seems like the new way that DraftKings is trying to go is to try to limit, the spread out slates a little bit more. So, like, because it used to be all the games would be played on one slate, and some would start at 10 in the morning, some would start at 7 p.m. or 10 Eastern.
Gotcha.
It's just a little different now. Yeah, I don't know if there's a whole bunch more to go over, but I'd love if you guys jump on in there and comment anything, ask any questions. Don't forget to please like and subscribe and all that stuff. I'm excited to watch my Dodgers. Who knows how long Ohtani's going to play for? So I've got to enjoy all my Ohtani time. It's just what a crazy world we're living in. And by the way, Rody, you probably weren't up on this one because of the basketball. The Jonte Porter thing. Did you hear about this whole thing?
Where that guy play or that cheap player or something?
The Jonte Porter has been like, he was like always the guy who projected great every day and like rarely was ever getting anything. And then they started noticing that on prop, as far as prop bets went, he was the highest prop bet player by like 10 times over of anybody else. So he's being suspended and investigated right now. We don't know what the deal is. But it was pretty funny because we joked about it on air that this guy is like literally trying not to get there, and in effect that's what happened. His unders were the most bets for the 2-week period, which is strange because he's not like a household, like nobody knows him. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Wow, that is crazy. Didn't think about that. But yeah, with all this betting and so much money on things nowadays, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It can get kind of dangerous out there for sure.
Especially for like, in the NBA in general, like it's not going to happen with stars or anything, but it's still freaking scary. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I feel like some nights these guys just like look like they're taking the night off. Like they just bring no energy.
But I think that's what happens though. I think that's when you play basketball, like throughout the season and you're just grinding. There's just some nights you're not going to have the energy, but I understand it. Like, I just don't think the top level guys would ever, like, there's no reason for them to. The amount of money is too high. But for a guy who's making the league minimum, and you can make a few $1 million on the side doing this while not hurting yourself too much, not the craziest thing.
Yeah.
I like this question from Travis. Do you think Reagan's is the real deal or he went through a hot streak? I have a suspicion that he may end up being the real deal. I don't know that I would say he's figured it out yet, but there were times last year where I thought he looked virtually unhittable. I think you're gonna see streaks up, highs and lows with him. I think that's the way it is. Yeah, that's just my take.
Yeah.
And then Project Mayhem's weighing in, the $700 million deal about to get banned. We'll see. Man, that would have been something today. What if all of a sudden the Dodgers announced that Shohei wasn't in the lineup or something? That would have started all the rumors. He is, by the way. I was just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be an issue with him. I don't think he did anything. I know there's a bunch of stuff going on with him, but
There's some stuff that's a little hard for me not to believe that he had any part to do with it. I don't think he's necessarily betting against himself. That part I'm not buying into, but I'm not buying into that he's never made a bet. And I don't know how his interpreter got a $4.5 million credit line at multiple casinos. So I think that's got to be something a little bit suspicious. But I don't want to weigh in on it because I love him and I want the best for my Dodgers, obviously. Yeah. All right, Rody, anything else before we get out of here? Again, reminding everybody to click the like button. We had over 70 people in here a little bit ago. It's great to have so many.
69 right now. It's our favorite number, baby.
Yeah, I love it. MLB 24, by the way, is the code. Rody put it in the chat earlier, but just wanted to remind everybody MLB 24 for 24% off the first month. And come join us. Like, we got a great community, a lot of smart people, a lot of sharp people in here. And like I said, if you're thinking about a product like a SaberSim, which is awesome, you have all of my content, all of Rody's content, Goldie's projections, and Cheat's projections on top of that, including Brandon Cruz's NASCAR stuff, including Chan within the League of Legends and the esports stuff. We've got a lot of stuff going on, so we really would like for you guys to jump on in and join the team. And you know what? You can do it really, really cheap right now. So that's where it's at. Scott McCarty says 420 next time. That's pretty funny. I want to get the
goal right there, McCarty. We're getting 420, baby.
I think I need to go on Brandon Cruz's NASCAR show if I want to get to up to 420.
Yeah, well, hell, by NFL season, we'll hit that 420. Hopefully.
We'll hit that 420 for sure. Awesome. All right. So, Rody, I'm going to let you take us out of here if there's nothing else.
All right. Happy opening day, everyone, and good luck. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Thanks for all you guys joining the show today, and hopefully we have some big screenshots in the Discord later. So, as always, guys,